Team, we've got a critical customer report here about the infotainment system. It randomly freezes and the customer's getting rather frustrated. We need to get to the bottom of this. Arjun, what are your initial thoughts on defining this problem?
Well, the customer said it freezes, so it freezes. We've followed all our standard diagnostics. We've checked the error logs. We've run the automated system checks. We've done all of that. It didn't show any specific fault codes, so I guess there isn't really anything wrong with the system. It's probably just another software glitch or something.
Arjun, a lack of user codes doesn't mean that there's no problem. When the standard procedures fail to show any problems, we need to find other solutions. Have you considered any physical inspections or alternative methods for non-electrical causes?
I haven't, and I don't really see why. I was just thinking about what might be causing it. I haven't really broken it down.
We need a more systematic approach. Can you synthesize the customer's anecdotal reports with our engineering data? What distinct data sources have you cross-referenced? We need a more refined, broad issue into a specific actionable problem statement, moving from general descriptions to precise definitions. What are the key variables we should be looking at to narrow this down, do you think?
I guess it is just what it is. I'm just really annoyed there isn't a DTC kind of showing us what to do for this.
We need a more methodical work through potential causes, not just rely on intuition or dismiss factors prematurely.
Okay, so I pulled the system logs and the user data from similar vehicles. We're seeing some correlation between the system freezes and heavy uses of certain multimedia functions, but the problem is it's not consistent. Arjun, what patterns do you see here?
Well, I'm sure it's this specific part causing the issue. The CPU spikes here correlate with the freezes. I really don't see how the other forms of data are really affecting the problem, like the navigation or the Bluetooth connections. It's clearly the CPU data.
Arjun, we need to maintain a balanced focus when analysing problems. We need to avoid fixating on a single area. Can you evaluate all the data for accuracy and validity before drawing conclusions? Are you questioning inconsistencies or verifying data integrity? What about the variability we're seeing across all the vehicle ranges?
Well, this is what we have, so we should use it. The diagnostic tool is always perfectly reliable. I don't really see what we need to consider all the other error margins. I mean, this number is clearly the answer we're looking for. So I think we should just go with it. We need this definite answer before we can get going.
You say that the diagnostic tools are always reliable, but we really need to consider all angles and evaluate the reliability of our data and any potential biases it might have, because the diagnostic tools are not always accurate and can be the ones at fault. This problem is so multifaceted and it requires a varied approach that takes all vehicles and variables into account.
All right then, we've narrowed down the problem. The system freezes when specific multimedia functions are heavily used in certain configurations. Arjun, any ideas for solutions? We need to think creatively here, not just incremental refinements.
Well, we could upgrade the existing software package to handle more memory. We've done that in the past, we've made some good improvements there. And it's a much better version of what we had previously. So this model says that it should be exactly 512 megabytes for memory allocation. So if we just refine it further, then we can have a much more advanced solution. And that would definitely be the best option.
That is a great example of an iterative improvement, but are we pushing past beyond minor refinements? Have we really considered solutions that take into account customer constraints like the budget or the timeline? And how does this fit into the broader customer and business context? What problems are we really trying to solve here?
Well, I mean, given the technical excellence that's over here, I feel the customer should appreciate all this marvelous work that's here. I don't really see the point in all these focus groups with the other departments. That's not really my job. I'd say we just need to reach theoretical perfection for the software. And what we have right here, this model, like that fits it perfectly.
We need solutions that align with our business goals and practicality. We need to balance innovation and practicality, considering if a direct, simple solution can be as effective as a complex, engineered one. We need to consider market availability and cost of alternatives.
So, the new caching mechanism has been integrated. Arjun, how are we assessing its performance? Have we addressed the root cause, or are we just going for the low-hanging fruit?
Well, I've been constantly refining our approach to this problem. At first we added a small patch just for the edge case, but then I kind of stepped back and I looked and asked myself, what are we trying to fix here? What is the actual thing we're trying to fix? And I realized that this was just adding unnecessary layers and convolution to the entire thing. So I went back to the foundational approach. I went down to our very beginning, and I streamlined the cache logic significantly. I removed some of the legacy elements from the previous module that just weren't really helping us, and I've removed them to improve the efficiency.
Excellent, Arjun. That's a crucial part of implementation. Are you recognizing that when the problem-solving approach has become unnecessarily complex, and then reassessing the core issues, have you identified any unintended tertiary issues from our previous fix?
Yeah, so initially the patch was causing a bit of a display lag, but then I realized that, and then I decided to kind of retrace my steps and simplify the approach rather than trying to fix that new problem that's been created. So I've challenged whether the new component was actually essential, whether we actually needed it, and then I've just been kind of simplifying it, going for a more straightforward fix. And I'm also making sure that our solution is within our project constraints and it meets our current accessibility.
Wonderful, Arjun. That's exactly what we want to see. Avoiding the big, overcomplicated solutions and aiming for a simpler fix is the goal. Thank you.
All right, team. The new caching mechanism is live. Arjun, how are we evaluating its effectiveness? What are the key criteria you've identified for this assessment?
Yeah, so I've set a really clear list of criteria points that we can look at, including the specifications, industry standards, and all the resources we have. I'm systematically weighing factors such as cost, such as timing, feasibility, and business impact against all the solution options we've been considering. We really need to assess the kind of broader ecosystem and sustainability impact of the solution, really thinking about the impact on the environment and also what resources do we actually have.
Excellent. I love the focus on sustainability. However, how is the system's long-term performance, and are there any unintended consequences? I'd also like to know how the system solution fits with our global viability, especially with our expanding accessibility to developing regions.
Absolutely. So I'm really evaluating whether this fix actually addresses the root cause that we've been looking at, or if it's just a response to an edge case. I'm really looking at the long-term system evolution to ensure that all of these past fixes haven't really made the system too inefficient or too complex, too convoluted. I'm also looking at the trade-offs between the legacy features and rationalizing the overall design to really improve the efficiency and really trying to judge if keeping those outdated solutions or for education is really justified, is really worth it. I've really pushed the system to its limits by testing it to the very, very edge, to really kind of identifying the weak points and where it breaks down, not just focusing on where we know it works, kind of really finding out where it starts to break down. So I'm really trying to focus on the relevance, the feasibility, and also the risk for future projects as well.
Arjun, that's a truly comprehensive evaluation.